Okay, so I'm live. So this is the daily energy reading for the 12th of September 2020. Don't know if many people get in here. I will have an allocated time soon. Just need a workout routine with my boys. So I'm putting out as much as I can as free content to give back to the collective. So this is where I combine the energy work that I do and the tarot work that I do to bring a narrative to you to help guide you on your day. It's general, take what resonates and leave behind what does not. It's just intended to give you some guidance upon the energies they might feel within you, within others, or around you. So this being for the 12th of September, let's go. So we've got the King of Cups that comes up first. So this King of Cups is an inventor. He actually is a creative person. From his emotional state, he's driven to want to make things better. This is the compassionate king. He's artistic. A lot of established artists. There's something that a lot of people, or one or two people, might get inspiration of today. Is some artwork that you've been waiting for, that design, that idea, something that will be really poignant to the times. Actually, you'll get some inspiration from today to create something like this. But this king is in control of his emotions. He uses his emotions, as he should, as a tool, as a way to excel, rather than being triggered and his emotions using him and controlling him, or more to the point, other people, outside forces being able to hook in and control those emotions. So he's an established king in his own right, in that way that he is balanced emotionally, he's whole emotionally. But there's this feeling, because this judgment card keeps coming up, it's clarified by the judgment card. And so this is the calling forth, ruled by the planet Pluto, the underworld, that calls forth the soul's journey, asks you to get up out of those graves, out of those dirt, and brush yourself off and release yourself back into your soul's path, the path that makes you feel whole, the path that makes you feel alive. There is a trumpet call. Wayne Steiger mentioned on his channel the other day that he felt and heard this hum. Now, a lot of people have been feeling that. That's the mother. That's the shaking up, the waking up. To be brave enough to go on your soul's path, to be brave enough to find your way back to that point where you make a difference, where you come to achieve what you came here to achieve in this reality. So you might be drawn emotionally to things that may not make sense completely at first today, but go with that intuition, go with that draw, go where you're being pulled to go to. But again, in a balanced emotional state, in a balanced emotional way. Hi Keith, hi Thomas. I'm going to read the comments after, because I realize I get distracted. So the High Priestess is the next card, clarified by the Seven of Cups. And so this High Priestess, she is of study. She is of intellect in herself. She studies things. There's a lot of people in the background that have been studying, breaking down, making sense of things with a lot of secrecy. And sometimes that is necessary, that secrecy. A lot of that secrecy has been weaponized against the knowledge that is ours to have, that we should never have let go of. But at the same time, thank you, Thomas. It's about, that sometimes while you're navigating your way through your studies, through your looking into things, through your learning of the occult, there's this need to have some solitude to that, to have some private time to that. But this brings understanding through the divine feminine form within males and females, and again brings forth that hum that we are getting, that waking up feeling. And so with that Seven of Cups clarifying her, coming from a place of intuition, a bit of secrecy, following things on faith, sometimes we can overload ourselves with things. Sometimes we can overload ourselves with thoughts, but it turns into emotions, not knowing quite where to go. You know, do you go with the magic mushroom here, or do you follow the snake? Where do you go? What's next? And sometimes we can get ourselves exhausted and go around in circles regarding what the next step is. This is where the King of Cups and the Judgment card come back into play, in that, you know, you be guided by your intuition and have faith with this High Priestess card, to not have doubt in yourself. You will be led to the right place if you are in control of your emotions and they are not in control of you. The Seven of Cups is a bit of a warning to not fall into that place of confusion, of because it could bring a bit of lethargy. You can have these breakthrough moments with the occult knowledge that you're learning, occult just being secret, you know, hidden. But at the same time, you can get a bit overwhelmed because it's a lot of information. It's a lot to take in. This reality being the illusion that it is, you know, there's a lot to take in. There's a lot to process and look at. And so this feeling of solitude comes back in, and maybe the need a little bit for some mystery, for some secrecy. Some people around you might not like that. They might be getting a bit triggered by that, a bit offended by that, thinking it's about them, when actually it's not. You just need to have that moment with self, many moments with self, to dilute and understand, understand the information that you're bringing forth, and emotionally be able to emotionally be capable of understanding that without going into the realm of being triggered. And so it's a balancing act today. On the 10 of Wands for the next card, it's this feeling of being overwhelmed. It's this feeling of lethargy. It's this feeling of, unfortunately, and this is where the emotions are being channeled, challenged. And that King of Cups being in an emotional balanced state, he's got his two cups in a balanced way lifted up, comes into play. Because a lot of people are having to break away from loved ones. A lot of people are having to break away from family, because there is, on one hand, somebody in the family has gotten a greater understanding of things, a greater understanding of things, and can see things as they are. It's a very difficult place to be in when close ones, family, friends aren't at that place, and may even be challenging towards you if you are the one with that inner standing, with that higher level of consciousness. And so it's this feeling of unbearable dependence, in that there's this overwhelming feeling of the warrior having to protect the sheep, even though the sheep refuse to wake up, the sheep refuse to take cover, the sheep refuse to listen to instruction that would help them, that would cover them. So the warrior is in even more open ground, can't even retreat to higher ground to protect himself or herself, and feels the need, this unbearable burden, some need to still stay out in the open as a target to protect those that are acting like they don't want to be protected. And that's a difficult place to be for people who are in this higher level of consciousness right now. And this is part of the separation that I've been discussing for weeks now, months now. And it's a very difficult place to be. And again, it takes the warrior spirit to understand emotional states and understand this reality, this realm that we're in and what we came here to do. Because this Eight of Cups, alongside this Judgment card, keeps coming up. So if we go from the Seven of Cups, after knowing more, understanding more with this High Priestess, we go to this point of realizing, damn, the people closest to me aren't even in the same space as me. having to protect, defend, but at the same time, there's that notion of this judgment card. There's a soul calling, there's a higher purpose right now, and you're feeling that hum from the mother, that calling from the mother, that trumpet sound. And it does ask us to have the wisdom enough to need to walk away from certain people, certain situations that just aren't even willing or wanting to even be defended, let alone fight for their own rights or their children's rights. It's a very difficult process because emotions are involved. This is the Eight of Cups. It's the need to leave, but those emotions, if you are not channeling them as this King of Cups in a balanced way with wisdom, you can be forced or feel forced to stay in this Ten of Wands moment with this unbearable burden, this impossible burden, because you can't protect adults that don't want to be protected or don't even see the need to be protected. And there's something else to take on board with this, that as hard as it is to understand, people are different. And, some people choose to project and protect the obvious enemy to humanity, the obvious enemy to our children, to our children's safety. People will look at the likes of Netflix, which I'll be cancelling. It's in the process of doing. I'm making sure it's done. And with this new cuties thing that they've put out, which is basically they're putting out child pornography on mainstream media. And we have people coming forward up in arms, trying to protect not only the children that auditioned for this show, not only the children that are in this show, but then to protect the people who may watch it, the children that may get indoctrinated watching it, that's who they should be to get attention, that's who they should be to have some kind of positive outcome in the attention stakes that all children are in. Children are made to want attention, to want praise. And so we see that even then we have people on the other side up in arms defending this movie, defending it to the hilt. It is culture. It's something to be proud of. This is to raise awareness for what is happening to our children. We know damn well what's happening to our children. And so we find ourselves in the same position in our individual lives right now, where if this resonates with you and you're in that higher level of consciousness, it's difficult to look around and notice that, damn, people close to me, people I love, people I respected are either in on this or are pandering to this. And that is a difficult place to be, and this card portrays it well. The red coat, he's had to be passionate enough about what he believes in, what he stands for, he or she, to be able to walk away from things that mean a lot to him, to be able to change the cycle, to be able to turn his back to it. The sage green on the ground that he's walking on representing the heart chakra. Your heart feels trodden on in this situation. Your heart feels forlorn in this situation. But what are you going to do? Are you going to make that stand? Regardless of who you have to walk away from or stand against. My foundational layer has and always will be children. It has and always will be my meeting ground for anybody, any walk of life, any belief system, whatever it is, whatever the differences are within any individual. My litmus test is, how do they treat the children? How do they act towards the children? What do they see in the future for the children? If I can meet on that ground with them, then I will stand shoulder to shoulder to protect our children. It is the one foundational ground that any healthy, normal, whole, emotional state can meet upon, no matter what other differences they have. And so we do find ourselves cutting ourselves off from people we love in order to follow this warrior, this soul's journey, the things that we came here to do. And along the way, protecting our children. I'm going to put it out there today, just before I finish off this reading. Well, no, I'll go with this actually. The Six of Cups is on the bottom of the deck, which is another one that keeps coming up. Now, this is necessary reflection. One, on the wider stage, it is necessary that we do our research with this High Priestess, that we do our studies to realize that this cycle keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. Look at World War I, look at World War II, and all the wars that have been able to follow since then. It's the same script. Different characters, same script. The torch being passed down from generation to generation to generation to the few. It's important to see that, even within the Greek-Roman rule, pedophilia was around and live and created to be normal. Gods and goddesses that we worship standing for that. In that era, in that time. And so then we see the Six of Cups. It's necessary to reflect on our past. It's necessary to see why we're emotionally hooked on certain things, why we're emotionally driven by certain things. It's also necessary to see that same script where there were wins for the many, and to be able to refine them, repeat them, and understand them so that we can do it again in a greater and better way. The next card on the bottom of the other deck is the Star card. True healing, true hope, true transmutation of all of the scars and wounds that we carry from our past right back to our own childhood, to find out why we emotionally can be triggered by certain things from outside forces. This is one of the biggest weaknesses and biggest strengths of us as a humanity. Our emotions drive us to love, to care, to nourish. Our emotions also drive us to be driven by outside forces. When we do not understand where the wounds are, when we do not understand where the healing needs to take place within self, then others with outside of us will study. They will do the High Priestess where we won't. They'll study and see how they can trigger us into a reaction, trigger us into riots, to then be able to come down full force with the arm of the law. So it's important that any warrior standing up today, that any warrior wanting to make changes and come here to do what they came here to do with this Judgment card, does this inner work first in order to get whole, in order to not be a weakness on the team, a weak chink in the chain, link in the chain, in order to not be able to be driven like a car by any outside force via our emotions, but to be whole, to transmute those and not have them as a weakness anymore, not have them as a void that can be filled by anybody who chooses to fill them anymore, but to be filled with the lessons learned of that time, with the process we went through, how we win, to be filled with emotional instruction. You know that water test, I forget his name, where you put the water in two different jars, and on one jar you say repeatedly every day, excuse me, you say positive words, positive phrases. And when you look at the water crystals under the microscope after a time, they are beautiful symmetrical shapes. And the other jar, you say some negative terms, some negative words in the same way. And then you look and it's distorted and disfigured water crystals. We are made up predominantly of water. It is important that we get a hold of ourselves and start speaking positively to ourselves, But before we do that, we have to find out where those voids are, where those wounds are, where those openings are for others that are also happy to wedge themselves in order to become whole, in order to be as strong, emotionally balanced as we can possibly be. It's more important in this time than it has ever been. As far as the Eight of Cups, I try to practice what I preach. Now I'm going to say something that I've never said out publicly before, but I have a very big extended family that I love dearly, cousins, aunts, uncles, and it came about in that extended family. It came about through circumstances that I won't go into completely, but it came about that I had to report some paedophilia that occurred within that extended family. My extended family have been quite high up in social services, being quite high up in nursing background and things like that. Thought it best that I should have kept it quiet, that we should have dealt with it within the family. Because certain members of my family did not agree with me, did not feel that it should be faced full force, and that no matter who was involved, it should be stopped, cut off, never spoken again. I will not stand for child abuse. I will not protect child abusers. I will not endorse anything that endorses child abuse, or that will seek to cover it up, or that will seek to normalize it. And so I did that Eight of Cups. I walked away. I did everything I could to report it. It went so high up that, there was the threat of prosecution. And because people in the know knew each other, not much happened. Certain people were stopped from following careers they planned to follow, but not much more than that. And so that was involving BBC, social services, the police, to which the police officers that had been so great that came out to me. And this is where I go on about systems. I'm not against the police. I know from my own circumstance that there are some fabulous police officers, male and female, that would stand in front of me to protect my life, that would try and pull me out of a burning car. But at the same time, the system prevents them. Unless the system endorses the arrest, these police officers, do their work. And I'm not saying they're all good, because a lot of this system breeds very bad officers. But there are very good officers that try their best, and they get so high up, shut down, disappeared. Certain names involved, shut down, disappeared. And so it is up to us in our individual lives and on the collective stage, that no matter how much it hurts our hearts, no matter how much it makes us feel emotionally forlorn, that we do the right thing, that we walk away. Now that's an extreme, and I thought I'd share it today because that cuties thing has disgusted me on Netflix. Absolutely, I've seen some videos where people have dissected it, and I can't even watch that in its entirety. I've just had to listen to the commentary. So that is the extreme, but that's the extreme we're dealing with. Why are they doing this? Why would they put out something so obvious that is child pornography on mainstream media? Well, because, the planets aligned so that we could start seeing the truth in masses, so that we could start seeing that a lot of these systems are built on and led by child abuse and sexual blackmail. And so what do you do? What does any narcissist do when they're getting caught out? They put it out there. They try and normalize the behavior. They try and look like we're the crazy ones, because we don't see this as culture. We don't see this as something to embrace. So when they're getting caught out, when they're getting cornered, what's the biggest defense? Put it out there, put it out there, put it out there. Normalize it, normalize it, normalize it. And we've seen that happening through TikTok. We've seen that happening through other things where we see little girls and little boys dressing up like adults and doing adult things. It's the normalization, the brainwashing. Don't fall for it. But we can't have it both ways. We can't complain about it on the collective stage and then not do the actions, however it reflects for you, this Eight of Cups. If you're just in a frequency relationship, the frequencies do not match, where you don't balance up. If you're in an abusive relationship, or if you're spending time or putting your emotions into something that you just know isn't right. Right now we need to be whole, and we need to be brave enough to walk away from anything that doesn't make us whole. And so, that being said, that is the reading for the 12th of September 2020. So I won't even apologise for keeping you long, because I think I needed to go into that. I think I needed to show that I practice what I preach. I practice what I preach. And children mean the most to me. Your child, my children, I'll stand in front of yours as just as much as I stand in front of mine. And so let's see what people are saying after my rant. 1 second. I'm technically challenged, people. So, love the cap. Thank you, Thomas. I love my hats. I love my bandanas. Love my jewelry. I like strange stuff too, the strange jewelry and things. I like that. So Keith says, don't trust anybody now. Concentrate on me now, as a lot of people are fake and full of false promises. Hope you and the Bens are okay. We're okay, Keith. It's just trying to keep them occupied, trying to keep up with schooling and things. But thank you for asking. I'll give you a ring later to check how you're doing. It's very hard. There's a lot of people being shown for the true colours, but also us emotionally. Sometimes we can perceive things the wrong way when we're feeling emotional. The same thoughts, Thomas. Thank you. Good morning, James. Good morning, James Broom. Gaza, Cav, Bosto, to all. Hi, Olga. Hi to you guys. Mary, hi, darling. Hi, Jennifer, she says. Glad we have a chat today. Yeah, it's lovely, James. It's brilliant when people join in. I really, really appreciate it. I really do. Could be talking into the ethers. Everybody's saying hi to everybody. It's lovely. I love it that people come together. It's 404. 44 is a number that keeps coming up for me, Mary, and of course 8. 4 and 7 being part of my life path number is very important to me. It should be lunch where Jennifer is. Yesterday's around about it's 12:23 to speak. You're in Melbourne, Gaza. I need to talk to you. I want to know exactly what's going on over there. Our royal family, not our royal family, the pirate royal family, has done so much damage to Australia. and it's still doing it, I feel. But I'd like to know from the horse's mouth, so to speak. James says the evil in this world is getting more and more brave. Yes, James, and that's exactly what they have to do. Because when an animal is cornered enough, then it's going to go on the attack. And so the attack is that, okay, we won't just come for the children that we steal, we're going to come for your children, right over mainstream media. We're going to have your children begging to watch this movie. Grinds my gears. Gaza says, I love being home. I turned my whole property into a permaculture, so I grow my own food. That is absolutely wonderful, but no freedom. Gaz, that's amazing of you to take that and do that for yourself and your family, but I'm so sorry. What's happening over there is heartbreaking. James is in South Georgia, very rural. It's where I need to be, in a rural area. My daughter's horses and whatnot. Gaz lives in the city, but not in a city, the last suburb from the city. Back door is where all the kangaroos are. Wow. Kangaroos are badass, yeah? Yes, Mary, sorry, did you not see? My cat, she's been locked somewhere. She's been locked up somewhere by accident, probably. She came home. I thought I was dreaming again because I kept opening the door and hearing her cries. And I felt so lost without her. But Abigail, my daughter, and William, my 10-year-old son, kept saying she's not gone. She's not gone. But so she came back, Mary, super skinny, super dehydrated, couldn't cry properly. A little voice box had gone, but she's getting better now and wanting attention all the time. So absolute miracle for us after her being missing for nigh on 2 weeks. So absolute miracle. So the children are so happy. And it's a real boost to their intuition, because I was too close to the situation. I couldn't feel it. I was just too upset. But Abigail and William were very intuitive, so Theodore, and they knew, and they weren't going to settle for anything less, and they didn't. And she came back. So Mitt lives. She lives, and she's been spoilt rotten to get some weight put back on her. Thomas says something interesting. Tune our body's vibration to an organic balance, and our bodies will do the work and create natural lattice structure of our divine waters. Oh, Thomas, that is perfect. Perfect. Jennifer, your rant is justified, says James. Thank you. I can rant on a little bit sometimes. Tony Hunter, very brave. Jen, love and strength. Tony, Superman, my Superman, love you. You know what I'm like. Soft and gentle till you cross the kids. Yes, permaculture is very easy to do. You don't dig, you just put mulch down. I got it all from the council for a free bag. Oh, wow. I'll have to talk to you guys, because my daughter is into all of this. And I want to understand more of this over a 3-year period. That's amazing. I'm so glad it's starting to come into fruition for you. It's all a bit crazy over here, says Gaza, that's in Australia. We have our rights taken away from us, no freedom. Oh, Gaza, we need to talk. I wonder how far before people push back, says James. James, me too. Me too. In the UK, you know, we don't have guns. I believe we should have. I believe, you know, it keeps governments in line to a certain extent. You know, even even the arrests that are being made, I suspect a lot of those arrests are being made by people that the police have usually left alone. That yes, people might be gangsters and things, and I walk with people of all walks of life, but you know, those people kept the streets in a certain check, you know. So you wonder what void is left now without those lead gangsters, for want of a better word, in place, because you know they helped keep, ironically, the streets in check. There was some fear of what was above, maybe some of the Torags now that could be used to take a lend with the UK and push forward, you know, like a martial law type incidents. It just feels like it's coming together so smoothly. So I just wonder how and when we're going to push back. I mean, we've had protests outside of Buckingham Palace and stuff, you know, about arresting those child abusers. But, you know, we, not to a huge extent yet, not big enough as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, you do, James, but the police in turn are armed like the military, yeah, in the US. I think that's the case, and I think it comes down to, I call upon the police that are good and the military that are good to see the wood for the trees, to see what is actually going on and stand with the people, stand for the oaths that they took. The same as the doctors and nurses, and I know a lot of them are trying to do so and they're being fired or threatened to be fired. But you know, in mass, what can they do if all of them do it in mass? It's these people who sell out that let down everybody because it means they can run on a skeleton, you know, the hospitals or the police service. But I think it's going to take the doctors, the nurses, all that took oaths, the police that are good within the police system, the social workers that are good within the social service system, to stand and say, actually, we see what you're doing, and no, we'd rather work and fulfill our purpose properly than work for you. But that's gonna be a big push or a big wish. Gaza said, and we all got curfews, so we will have to stay inside. If we go out, we get arrested. Wow. You know, the so-called royals made Australia a prison land. I don't think that they ever let go of that hold over Australia, because look, it's back to being a prison land. Such beautiful people in one big prison. There's a lot behind that. There's a lot behind the Chinese buying up small parts of your land as well, Gaza, to stop the streams, am I right? They were buying up selected parts of your land so that we could stop natural streams of water going into farms. That was all allowed by your state government. I don't know what you would call it. And that was all premeditated, I feel. I think it choked a lot of people out of being able to live off the land. They are starting to hear, lots of people starting to wake up with the police and the military. They are brothers and they are heroes. Just have to realize this. Yes, that's true. I'm going to put a video out about the military. I love the military. I love that my granddad was a war hero. He helped prisoners and stayed back in a Japanese prisoner war camp to allow others to escape. And he kept his mind, and then he continued to work for the community. That's a photograph of his plaque from the Lord Mayor behind me. You know, so I'm going to cover that. I love the military. I love the brothers and sisters in the military. I love the brothers and sisters that stand for good within the police system. And, you know, they go into there with a hero's heart. They go into there with a warrior's heart, wanting to make a difference. And it's heartbreaking for them when they do realize that, you know, they're just, you know, hired hitmen for purposes that aren't necessary. And so it's time for them to be held up by us in society and say, we love you, we love your heart, we love what you're driven to do, but you need to do it in the right way. Stand on our streets. Stand on our streets. Stand in front of, injection centres. Stand in front of the palace. Stand with us. Gaza says that's right, but the government stepped in, the federal government, and stopped all sales to China. Good, because China was just being allowed to choke people out over there. Disgusting. James says, Jennifer, you are correct about the Crown. I think they still have a hold on the US also. Of course they do, James, they do. There's such a hold. They're an insidious cancer running through the veins of the people around the world that want to please them. They're a lot more powerful than they let on. It's a deliberate tactic in the UK to say, oh, the royals, how sweet, an old lady and an old man. Monsters. And it's not even them. It's the Crown that they represent. The Crown must live. The Crown must do. It's the Crown. And whatever you put energy to be real, you make it real. And so the Crown is the inanimate object that actually is the very thing that runs through the veins of these people. Thomas said the ego of our doctors and other local so-called checks and other local so-called leaders are finally showing red, embarrassed faces. Good. Yes, they are. Because a lot of doctors, I used to do nursing, I did my nursing degree. A lot of doctors are given this God complex, hero-like complex, and a lot of them use that for good. Getting patients to do things, that others can't get them to do for their health. And other people live off that. There's a lot of narcissistic doctors. And they loved this initially, but now it's starting to burn a little bit. Now it's starting to be a bit worrying. They might be included in the vaccines. Mm-hmm. Mary says, Bank of England funds our social security checks and unemployment. The Queen's signature is on them. There you go, Mary. You're so right. They're insidious. You're correct about the Crown still controlling down under, but I think they still have a hand on the US. They've got a huge hand on the US. A huge hand on the US and Australia. And where are they? Nobody, throughout this whole corona fiasco, nobody has ever seen any of the royals, anybody, doing the support, doing the parades through the streets. Why? Because people are waking up. They'd be stoned. And that is still Rome. Rome never died. Yeah, most of the property tax from the US does work its way back to the UK. All roads lead to Rome, quite literally. And nobody actually quite knows where the royals are, There's a different guard on the palace. There's been no answers to any of the protesters outside of Buckingham Palace, none at all. So yeah. So this was a good chat. Thank you so much for being with me, all of you guys, Mary, Thomas, James, and who else was here? Keith, of course, Gaza. I really appreciate you guys. And Chad, of course. Hi, Chad. I really appreciate you being here and chatting with me. It's good to share. It's good to share. Sending you all love, light, wholeness, and balance, and of course, strength. Much love. Be balanced and be whole, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.